problem is more with these Democrats who will bury these allegations against their candidates or their candidates' spouses and then play holier than thou when they're looking at Donald Trump.
A few years ago, when Ann Inheat Coulter was still, working her grift as a so-called conservative commentator, she wrote a book that I had read entitled How to Talk to a Liberal If You Have to. That all aside, no one gives a better master class in handling the liberal media than Megyn Kelly.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth. I'm surviving at the top of the line!
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty, and this is the Afternoon Drive. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That will give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Please like and share this video. It's the only way that we can get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of the Afternoon Drive.
I just want to understand something clearly. Donald Trump was found liable for sexual abuse in a civil court. He's been accused by many women.
Nobody cares! Nobody cares!
You don't believe any of that?
Nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody
freaking cares!
Nobody cares.
I've got a great video clip of Megyn Kelly going on the New York Times podcast. Yes, apparently the Times has a podcast. I'm sure they're absolutely lying about the subscribers they have and the impact that they're making into the alternative media world. But nonetheless, she has a great exchange with this, I don't know what the name of this so-called podcast host is. Basically, this is the New York Times, so they'll just, insert any, breathing carbon-based life form and call it an interviewer. How Megyn handles this person is absolutely, it's a masterclass. But before I get there, I've got to say this. Have you noticed that the Trump administration 2.0, that most of the people in the orbit of Donald Trump now can do this? They know how to respond during interviews. I've said this before and I'll say it again. And part of this is because, yes, I am a pastor. I really do have a degree in theology. And I really do believe that the sovereign God of the universe allowed there to be a gap between Donald Trump's first term and his second term. I think, believe it or not, it's actually made Donald Trump a better, more effective president. And this really is going to be a presidency of not only a golden age, but of incredible legacy. Even though we know that they're trying to stop him with the courts, and this is, they've got no more Russiagate. They've got no more pandemic to try to scare the world with. So now they're going to, through the judicial process, just bring everything to a halt. And ultimately, Donald Trump is going to blow through this, and we are going to see just that golden age that he's talking about is going to happen. I know certain things aren't happening as quickly as we'd like with regard to the economy, but let's remember, it ain't even been 100 days yet, and we said we were going to give him a few months. Biden got us into this hole. It's going to take a little bit of work to get out, and we're going to see what the tariffs do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That all said, what I love about Donald Trump this time around is that he doesn't have the career politicians surrounding him, that when they go on CNN or Fox News or Meet the Oppressed, they're not giving those politician-type answers. These guys are on it. They know how to punch back. I mean, Marco Rubio ain't having it when they interview him. We certainly know how Tulsi Gabbard works the media. The new press secretary, I mean, her war with, what's that reporter from CNN, Caitlin, Catherine, whatever her name is, the one with the mouth that moves like this. She just absolutely repulses me. These Trump officials, they know how to punch back. Elon Musk, just great stuff. Megyn Kelly gets dragged onto, or decides to go onto this New York Times podcast. And of course, right away, here comes that air of self-righteousness. How can you support a man who has done vile things?
I just want to understand something clearly. Donald Trump was found liable for sexual abuse in a civil court. He's been accused by many women. You don't believe any of that?
I think the most serious thing I've heard about him has been the E. Jean Carroll allegation that he sexually assaulted her in a Bergdorf dressing room. And I don't believe one word of that.
There's
Not
many.
one word.
There are other women who have
Oh,
said.
I know. I've interviewed some of them. But look, the things I heard were included things like he got handsy on an airplane. Now, I don't know whether that happened or it didn't. But do I find that a deal breaker for a possible politician? Not really. At least I reported on their stories and did them the courtesy of bringing them to air in front of millions of people and let the audience make up its mind. My problem is more with these Democrats who will bury these allegations against their candidates or their candidate spouses and then play holier than thou when they're looking at Donald Trump. You have to understand, like, if you haven't sold your soul, you have to be willing to criticize the people, even that you admire, on your, quote, side. And my owning my bias by going out there on stage with Donald Trump and saying, I'm voting for him and you should too, is a bonus when it comes to my credibility. Now, everybody has zero doubt about where I stand, and they can filter everything I say through the appropriate lens. What typically happens in journalism is they say they have no bias, and then they just work it out in the printed word or on their shows without owning it. But the audience knows it, and it creates a distrust and a divide. When it comes to Trump and me, no, my own personal opinion is most of the allegations against him are much more complicated than the mainstream media would have you believe. And I don't think Donald Trump is a rapist or a sexual assaulter. I do think he's taken inappropriate liberties with women and gotten handsy with them in a way he's owned himself. Okay, years ago when he was a celebrity, and it is what it is. That's the past. But it's just about so much more than that. We are talking about how many people dying at the southern border because of the invasion that we've suffered under Joe Biden. We're talking about Laken Riley, whose killer was let in under Biden. We put him on a taxpayer flight down to Georgia where he murdered her. I don't give a about Trump getting handsy with somebody 20 years ago. I want someone who will close the border, which he has. I want someone who will keep boys out of my daughter's sports, which he has. I want someone who will stand up to the insane DEI policies so that white kids will stop hearing in school that they're born with some original sin from which they cannot recover, which he has.
All I can do here is Megyn nailed it. Notice first it's that whole, you're supposed to be a feminist, Megyn. Now, nobody has a more, shall we say, colorful history with President 47 than Megyn Kelly. We all know about that very first presidential debate. Megyn Kelly trying to go in for the kill to get him on an area of feminism. You've referred to women as fat pigs, ugly, etc. And Donald Trump gave the answer heard round the world. Only Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, it was great. It was funny. And the two of them had their feud during the 2016 election cycle. But Megyn Kelly had a come to Jesus moment, a change of heart, when she watched the prosecutorial attacks that were launched against Donald Trump. And she said, whoa, time out. This is all bogus. This is nothing but pure, we'll use a Pastor Marty word here, bullhawk. And eventually she got on board the Trump train and said, I am on. I will walk across burning hot coals to vote for this man. I think that's pretty close to a direct quote from Megyn Kelly. She spoke at his campaign. Of course, you know, they're trying to get snarky with her. Oh, you're supposed to be a member of the media, and yet you're out here obviously shilling for Donald Trump. Like these media people didn't shill for Kamala Harris. Give me a break. At least Megan's honest about it up front. But they tried to attack her credentials as being a feminist. How can you, as a feminist, as a woman who believes that women can be boss and can be in charge and confident and rise up as leaders? How can you support this demagogue, this womanizing, vile individual? Megyn is on record. Where are the feminists when it comes to this whole trans issue? That basically you have men saying, you women don't really know how to be women anymore. All you know how to be is snap your head snarky like Jasmine Crotchet, who, apparently wants to pretend like she oozed out of the ghetto somewhere. And she a boss lady now, and she gonna be telling the president and Governor Hot Wheels how it's at. Boy, did I get some responses for my take on Jasmine Crotchet. And yes, I call her Crotchet because one of her supporters responded to me, hey, she rocks. And I responded, I'm sure she does. Just ask the guys who've rocked her. Where were the feminists over the fact that men have decided that since women don't know how to be women anymore, get out of the way, we'll show you how it's done, and they're becoming women themselves, in particular in this area of sports, where Gavin Newsom was forced to admit to Bill Maher that in the state of California, in the high school girls' long jump, which is a track and field event, in the long jump, a trans student, which means a boy pretending to be a girl, has now set the state record, and she beat the old record by 8 feet. Not 8 inches, 8 feet. You mean there might be a physical advantage to a male competing in a female bracket? No. That boys and girls are actually biologically and physically different, kind of the way God intended it? Where are the feminists on that? Where are the feminists on when Caitlyn Jenner, they call me Bruce, became Woman of the Year? Really? Really? Dylan Mulvaney giving talks on menstrual cycles? Talking about makeup and being a girl, and he's nothing but a parody of what a woman actually is. But yet the feminists have lined up to defend that. In the meantime, junior high age girls now have to share locker rooms with biological males. And we're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to talk about the girls that are physically getting hurt or all of the girls that have lost out on athletic scholarships because the guy with the taco beat out the girl, or the guy with the hot dog beat out the girl with the taco. And I know that's crass, that's crude. And before you go the whole Pastor Marty, can't believe you said that. Sometimes you got to use language people understand. The Apostle Paul said, I would rather say 10 words that you know what I'm saying than 10,000. And when I'm done, you haven't got a clue. And I'm sorry, Megyn is so right about the whole, don't you get on your holier than thou when we can point to just as many Democratic leaders who have had their share of scandals and shenanigans that are actually provable, i.e. Bill Clinton. We were told, hey, sex doesn't matter. It's just sex. It was just an intern. That doesn't affect his ability to govern. Great. Then that E. Jean Carroll, who claims to have been gang raped by Trump by himself in a Bergdorf dressing room with customers and a clerk just feet away. There's no proof, no evidence whatsoever. New York State rewrote the code so she could bring that charge because it was political year. Yeah, don't give me that bullhawk. Yes, I voted for the felon, and I'd do it again. And when he runs for a third term, I will. I love how the media is having a meltdown over that. Which, by the way, you do know what that is, right? He's trolling, or he's actually delusional, thinks he can win. Now I got everybody stop talking about Signalgate. Megyn Kelly went into enemy territory and owned them. Good for you.